welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here on the island of misfit toys. Yes. Anyway, just nothing working very well, including me, and that's part of the subject, I suppose, as it's been for a while. Me attempting to, I don't know, strategy, find some way to make this tool work better, of communicating, with people, talking words at them, and yes, I just haven't done it well enough, kind of obviously, and that's a problem. And the simple agenda is really just to explain how, yes, it's all kind of a mess. It's all sloppy existence. We don't get to, you spend your life working on becoming somebody, and then you have to start all over again. And it just, it's incredibly a bad plan, starting all over again. So, there's a need to work on, finding a better strategy. And the idea would be is that we would all agree that, as much as this is interesting, being alive and human, there's just nowhere it can go, because it's just a problem-solving device, and frankly, the whole way it works is you create your own problems and then solve your own problems. I mean, the biggest obstacles in life are not making problems that you have to solve. That's the key, to the good life, is to avoid stepping in quicksand, which doesn't seem like much of a game to play. There's nothing positive really. And it's all just preventing negatives and avoiding negatives. So the idea would be you just, grandfather this thing out. There's only one reason why we have to keep coming back here and doing that, and doing this. It's because some of you, see some purpose, and have some notion that it's somehow fun to make people and raise them. And raise them kind of badly, so they have to mature past your bad maturation and realize how to be a decent human instead of just a jackass. Because most people don't really take it seriously. They have kittens so they can play with kittens. They don't really have kittens to take on the responsibility of raising them into good cats. And being human requires that. I mean, it's not just some kind of instinctive thing. You have to go, you have to learn how not to be instinctive, and that's the whole catch to intelligence, is that we're designed stupid, and we have to install a smart program. And it's not a fun or easy process, this installation. It requires you to be humiliated and to make messes and get stuck in them and spend time scraping crud, off yourself. That was your own. Well, sometimes it's not your fault, but you're born with one arm or something. I mean, you're cheated in the race of life by some kind of blight. And it usually builds your character, of course, but it's an expensive lesson. It's a hard way of learning. Let's just not bother. It's just so wasteful. So, and it goes beyond just human beings. I mean, there's all these creatures on the planet who, they don't have the option of becoming educated. It's just not part of the possible range of function, and so they can't rise above their crude nature, and they can't do any better. But those of us that can acquire some language skills and some cognitive ability, based on acquiring facts, can say more and do more to prevent forest fires, so to speak. We can fly the plane so it doesn't, passengers don't get thrown out of it and all this stuff. We can run a good, safe roller coaster, so to speak. And the point is, it's a silly amusement, and people with intelligence should be able to figure out they don't need to go roller coasting. That it's just not something smart things do. Yeah, so it's something like that. All right. So I've sort of given up on the let's talk about all the things that are wrong and try to fix all the things that are wrong, because people just, they're just so stuck in their bandwagon riding mode, their group think, that you really can't have that conversation. Now, I wouldn't say that people can't change, because things do change in bizarre ways. As I've sort of commented briefly recently, is I don't know what happened to the Liberal Party, but it lost all rational agenda, and it, completely changed into some kind of loony party that believes in immigration and no reward and punishment stuff. Fuck that. Fuck rewarding people for being good, and fuck punishing people for being bad. Defending shoplifting. What the fuck is that? Oh, let's just give them a buy because they're poor. It's just too silly. They're making everybody else poor. They're just degrading the entire civilization, turning it into shit. And somehow this was logical, to all of these intellectuals that used to be sort of representative of the Liberal Party. They were supposed to be the people who were educated and smart, and frankly, they're defending shit. And you're just like, what the fuck? How did that happen? It took like 10, 12 years or something. So again, I can't make the argument that people are too glued to some kind of ideology, because apparently they can switch ideology entirely. And, no problem. As long as the group's doing it, I guess, is what it comes down to. I don't know. It's just so hard to figure that one out for me. Because it's such, it's like, it's duplicitous, and you're saying, well, these people aren't deliberately being duplicitous, but, it's so bait and switchy, kind of insane. How do you go from pro to con, or con to pro, without even a conversation that I even saw? I didn't see some conversation where liberals all of a sudden said, no, excess labor is fine. It doesn't create any kind of opportunity for exploitation, and I didn't see that conversation. They went from one day, oh, the poor migrant workers, they're only making $5 a day, and they're not making enough to, work all day and get enough money to even buy a hamburger, and grapes of wrath kind of stuff, and to, yeah, let's let them all in, and have so many people competing for, I'll do that job for $2. I'll do it for 58 cents. Have them, drive right down into the toilet in terms of, I can survive on one peach a day. How'd that happen? Well, anyway, there's no point in lamenting it. It happened. The fact that the right wing went nuts, the conservatives would vote for anything. It just doesn't matter. I don't care how anti he is. Everything I believe in, I'll vote for him as long as he'll, kill foreigners. So it was the only real issue, I guess. You could argue this was the only thing that decided anything, was this whole immigration subject. And it's just so bizarre to me, that the Liberal Party sank their boat on this issue. This wasn't the big one. This wasn't the rich man, poor man subject at all. It didn't have anything to do with this fairness thing, earn thing. exploitation thing. Nothing. It didn't have anything to do with any of the subjects that were supposed to be the liberal agenda, which is let's not live lives based on dogmatic tradition. That is, let's not be ruled by religious kooks. Even that they let go of, and all of a sudden became, well, allied with Muslim nuts. Now, the only reason why I had any sympathy at all for being defensive of, Arabs generally in the sense of Muslims was because we provoked war with them. Okay, I mean, we really asked for it. We made, we overstepped, the appropriate response to fringe activity, and it was fringe activity. But anyway, and lied about all kinds of stuff, and we just cheated in these wars, just horrible cheating, and it looked like it was all just for oil control, and a lot of and so you could say, yeah, well, that was just wrong, so you could make some defense, but that's it. That's as far as any kind of you can't really defend Muslims because they are out of their mind, crazy, psychotic, mass murdering lunatics, generally speaking. And they are control freaks. They are intolerant, mind everybody else's business kind of fucktards. So yeah, fuck them. Let them get what they have earned. But yeah, they haven't. They really haven't earned anything called empathy or sympathy because they are belligerently fucktarded. So anyway, so even that I can't understand. Why intellectuals would all of a sudden come running to the defense of, they have all the money they need to secure their own territory. They just don't need to do this. Let's fight the Christians or whatever the fuck they're doing. Anyway. So what else is there to say about that? I don't think there's anything. Yeah. It's a very. But see, then it gets messier because then you have to throw Israel in and the whole Palestinian thing, and now that's just a mess. Because unless. I mean, you really can't wear, it's not like Israel could make a bunch of condoms, and give them to the, but that's really what they need to do. There's no winning in this circumstance. The fungus they're trying to control is, breeding at 10 times the rate they are, and either one of them have no business breeding because there aren't any place to put all these people. I mean, they just don't have the territory for it. But anyway, there's no point in getting into all that crap. But these are problems that I don't think are going to go away, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And, there's so many parts of the whole civilization that are teetering on some kind of catastrophe. And, for that reason alone, more people should be voting for, let's just, let's gracefully just get off this boat, and never build another one. So anyway, so that's sort of the theme here, I guess. So, leave us play the video and see what I said. I bet I wasn't, I wasn't in much of a mood, and it is all discouraging. Because the point I'm making is that, okay, I've made thousands of videos, talked about all kinds of subjects, and it just doesn't do any good. Even really simple things that should have been done decades ago, like reforming the education system, and paying students instead of idiotic infrastructure. Even the whole idea of this subsidy crap, where people who don't have to have kids have to pay for people who do have kids. I mean, what the fuck is that shit? That's not a getting what you've earned kind of, system. That's a punish the people who did the right thing, okay, and reward the assholes who did the wrong thing. Yeah, it's just not very smart. So anyway, but yeah, there's so many things that could, and you just can't. You can't. The horses are just so retarded that even they'll poo. You lead the horse to water and he'll poo in it. He just doesn't get the concept. Find interesting, let's just say, what they invest in. Okay, I mean, all the money spent on sports. Oh yeah, so I did a little ragging on that. Just because I heard about some Netflix thing, and it was just so funny that this is what the human race cares about, is some fight between a convicted mass sex offender and some other thug, and they're going to beat each other up without using swords or anything. I mean, maybe it'd be worth watching if they were having a sword fight or something, but otherwise, oh come on, they're going to slap each other around and you're going to waste your time watching that shit. And yeah, that's what people do. I just, yeah, sorry, just I can't understand it. That's humans. Oof. That's what you're doing with your big giant brain. We have a big giant brain. We're bigger. We're so better. But it's just such great. And this is what you do with your time. Yeah, it's not very good. Not a very convincing argument that you're worth anything. Morons. Yeah. And you could, I could feel my psychology being controlled, and with this idea that I need to do this. So anyway, yeah. So I was just talking about all the stuff that does cause you to be an asshole, and to waste time, and to be poorly motivated, and I don't. It's really irritating to even think about how much time I wasted on love, searching for it, that kind of crap, and it's just like, oh shit, what a pile of nonsense that was anyway. What a lie I was telling myself, that this had something to do with love and it didn't have anything to do with horny. Well, I guess I would never say it didn't have anything to do with horny, but that's all. Come on, it's just this is just some kind of, it's this reoccurring itch, and you're just looking for a stick to scratch it with, and it's, you can't pretend, oh, I love this stick. Nah, you don't really love the stick. It's just another thing to use to your satisfaction, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's embarrassing to be manipulated by a bunch of nonsense. And I played video games for a while, for a couple of years. I wasted a couple of years playing Tomb Raider and such. And then, all these little habits you get into, and then you can't get out of them. I mean, it's a little difficult to find a new habit. And it all has to become kind of a habit. Yeah. I sort of dragged myself to these videos, especially recently, because it's a habit. It's a tradition. It's a thing I do, and even though I'm not doing it very well, I got to do better than that. Is habit, and that we're all stuck in the habit of being whoever you are, and it's hard. Yeah, it's unpleasant. But like I said, it's just so strange how the habits of some things that you thought were reliable and dependable, nope. Not so reliable, not so dependable. Sort of lived through some of that, like the 60s to the 70s, and you kind of went from this earthy, I don't know how to, the whole, what do you call that, Woodstock kind of thing, to disco. And it's like, what what the hell was that? you know, it's just so funny, you know, how generations, if you want to call it, or sub-generations, the memes change so radically. The habits, the ideals, the principles even. In terms of recognizing futility. And the fact that it doesn't happen by some kind of reasoned logical mechanism. It's like they don't transition going up. They just do this sideways crap. Silly dance, and then they find another silly dance to do, but they never find a good dance to do. Okay, the fact that you're not going to win in the end, you know, that you already know the ending of the movie and it sucks. You know, some movies are really watchable. Yeah, so just some little rambly crap about, you know, yeah. So I'm just saying, you know, the writing on the wall is always there, and it's just the fact that an awful lot of people aren't seeing it and saying, oh, okay, I forgot that I'm going to die. And that's probably not going to be a good thing. It's probably not going to happen in a good way. So I have to count that as part of what I'm talking about when I talk about how great life is. And they just don't bother with that part. So, you know, the pro-lifers are just talking shit, you know, because they're really not accounting for any of it. You know, the real cost of all of it. You're just keeping them barely alive, kind of thing. You know, in a suspended torment. You know, it's like you could have some fatal injury and they could just keep you alive in that condition. Ew. So I was talking about, you know, sometimes wars kill people, and they did it a huge favor the person because their life would have been shit. And then there's the other side, you know, because it's quick a lot of times in war. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but some percentage die, you know, within a few seconds. And then there's the other nasty part, where a huge percentage take forever. And it's, I suppose, the modern war is, you know, much better in terms of how quickly it kills people. Even with all our medical technology, just because the only way you know, there's so many airbags built into the system that injuries just aren't as likely as fatalities. Something like that. Yeah, fun subjects. Crime doesn't make you not still a criminal. Doesn't still make you way behind. Okay, so I mean, reducing your blood footprint, okay, that's good, but you don't pretend. Yeah, it's not. That's not profit. So yeah, oh, I reduced my losses. You know, I reduced how many women I raped. Yeah, I'm a good person. No, it doesn't work that way. It works that way in our world, but I just mean it doesn't work that way in, you know, in the real model of defend your life. That's not a defense. Interesting, you know, in terms of these are all valid subjects about, you know, how do we get from where we are to some better future, and the arguments you could be made about how, you know, what we should be doing in the world to make it a better place. Yes. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, those are worthy conversations. I mean, and like I said, I started this channel with that in mind. And maybe part of the problem is that I wasn't very effective, you know, in talking about the right to die and the education system and fairness first and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And, you know, fixing the democracy. I mean, it's just so easy to fix it and make it so much more representative and so much fairer to the subjects. Obviously, somewhere, you know, these, you know, the courts and the Senate and the Congress ought to be hearing, you know, the poll numbers. 70% of the people say, and then they vote for something the 30% want. And that's the part that doesn't make any sense. The disconnect is so apparent between what the majority of people actually want and what they get. Just the idea that Alaska has, a voter in Alaska has 25 times more voting power. Their vote counts 25 times more than a person in California. That kind of nonsense. I mean, you gotta get rid of these old artifacts of a system, a United States created out of, basically the states were bribed into it. They were extorted. So, the 13 colonies were extorted by the 14th colony and the 15th colony and the 6th. They all extorted them. What will you give me to join you? And all those old contracts are nonsense. They're bullshit. But you can't fix any of it. So no matter how stupid and bad some system is, how inefficient it is, how wasteful it is, it's impossible to fix any of it through arguing and persuading. Anyway, that doesn't seem to work on people at all. There was a point where I just said, well, I got nothing to lose, so I'll go for the big subject, which is fuck you people and this pro-life shit. And this notion that you're something other than bugs. Every bit of the evidence indicates, you're just robotic, moronic, agenda'd, fucking flat. You're not as flat as a flatworm, so you're rounder worms, but you're just worms with arms and legs. Fuck, you're not doing any better than that. Yeah, continuing. So that's the irony. There was a time when employer sanctions were going to be imposed, and this. Just talking about it's even like both political parties are kind of switch sides. But the Republicans were always for immigration to drive wages down and all that kind of crap, and it's just so But I mean, obviously, I think there's I can see more reasoning in them saying, well, you've just done too much of it, But the real problem is that yes, the native population is educated. It doesn't have enough kids to sustain, to keep growing the population, and the Republicans profit off of growth. They need everything to be unsustainable so they can create all the debt, that they make money off of, and that kind of thing. So everything's built out of this profit through excessive numbers of people, and so you have to have a growing population to have a need for expansions. I guess that would be the word. More casinos and more this and more that. So that whole psychology of keep doing the same thing. So even after you've built 43 museums, you need more people so you can build 44 museums. That kind of nonsense. Anyway, and so they were stuck in the quandary of we need growth, but we don't want the population. It's great when the Russians were leaving Russia. We were getting their engineers and their smart people. But immigration of people who just want to get pregnant, that's not the kind of people you want emigrating. And the ones, especially when they're carrying a Koran with them, then you really don't want them. Where they can have it is to print it, and that would be Germany all over again. Okay, so just kind of pointing out how we're heading for the same problem. They've already done this, the whole low interest mortgage thingy and guaranteed by the government thingy and all that crap all over again. All Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac bankruptcy thing all over again. Exactly the same pattern. And and the only reason why it's been working is because the silly liberals are creating a bunch of excess population that keeps housing prices going up. And if you actually stop the flow of new Americans, then what happens? Then you're stuck with 2011 and a huge number of financial bankruptcies built out of the fact that you sold high, and I mean you're buying high and selling low, yes, and there's going to be a whole bunch of bankruptcy built out of that, and you got no way to fix it this time because you used up all the gimmicks. That I think I can't imagine there's any other gimmick they can, they've bankrupted the Fed, in the sense it got $5 trillion sitting in the Federal Reserve. That's an uncashed check that we have to cash someday. And $7 trillion in secured junk bonds. I mean, it's, what, you're going to come up with another way to hide $15 trillion? I just don't think so. And get away with it? No, I don't think so. Basically, the government basically bought its own bonds off the market. Yeah, so I was explaining in more detail, blah, blah, blah. Is the fact that we can acquire knowledge of how the game's played, what the gas is, and what the function. Yeah. So again, it doesn't have to be all that draconian. The only thing you have to give up is some pro-life notion that, oh yes, Earth needs to have people on it, blah 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 blah. It needs to be a bug planet forever. Do you really need that? I mean, do you really, is your psychology really all that focused on some other consciousness in some other universe kind of thing? I don't know. I mean, do you really live for the story being true? I mean, let's just say Star Wars was true and there really were Jedis and there was all that crap. You're telling me you really care? What happens on some dopey little planet somewhere in the, it's really all that interesting what's happening to people completely disconnected from you? So I don't get that part at all. You're going to be just dead and gone and ashes, whatever, in some jar somewhere. And all of this crap is going to be going on, this soap opera. And somehow you're invested in it somehow. It's just hard for me to imagine how. From my, I'm supposed to be an empathetic person, and I can't contrive the empathy. Bad, but I'm just not. I can't be asked. I can't be asked. Something like that. I think that's just to play the game psychologically, try to manipulate people into doing the right thing and all that kind of crap. It just seems anti-intelligence, and it's I can't it's not like I can't be a good actor. Like I couldn't fake it, because I have in my life faked it, frankly. I faked being normal, so to speak. So, I can fake it, but, yeah. There's something deep that's just saying no. Will provide no mercy, and, we have to do all that. Yes, we have to do all because it's not built into nature, it's not built into the bug function. And if we're going to ever be civilized, it's our intelligence that has to pave that road. What's up? Alright, so I guess what I was saying is sort of like, okay, the physics argument. So I did bring up the fact that that's where I've really become very discouraged, is when you can't even find something even close to an argument that has any integrity. And like the people are being honest. It's just all bullshit rhetoric, lies, distortions, perversions, and even intelligent people resort to that. You just point out how, well, look, you're supposed to be pro-science. Science is supposed to be about evidence and experiments and proof, and you don't have any of that. So you're just like religious people, just blah 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 blah, talking about your dogmatic beliefs. And then you're insulting people who say, well, can you show me some evidence that there is such a thing as a Holy Ghost? Go ahead, just show me one piece of evidence. If you're going to tell me this thing's a real thing, just show me one little piece of evidence. What's the big deal? And no. And that's just impossibly discouraging, you know, that smart people are just lying scum. Also, they're just bandwagon riding, and they just really couldn't give a shit about the truth, and they couldn't give a shit about having an honest argument with any kind of integrity.
So we had no no's.
Oh, yeah, and I was talking about, you know, the stuff in, you know, the stuff like once you do this thing of becoming whatever, smarter than the average bear, you know, you're stuck with, you know, a lot of contemplating and thinking about stuff that just isn't pleasant. You know, and that's it. That's all you got is a bunch of, oh yeah, that's what it's like to drown in quicksand, and oh, that's like, you know, and it's just, yeah, it's no good. It's if you pay a price for thinking, honestly.
Fingers with it's not quite.
You know, I don't know.
You know, and I've sort of pointed this out before. The only thing that really kept me alive in the past was I felt entitled.
Ah, that's the right to die kind of stuff. Yeah, and the fact that I only survived because I felt I had earned a path to the exit door. That, you know, none of this is my fault. I didn't have anything to do with this nonsense party, and I should be able to just get up and walk to the little place where there's a, you know, it says exit, and walk through the door. I shouldn't have to jump through any hoops to get out of this mess. But anyway, and again, that's another one of these arguments where you're saying that's just such a basic, you know, how can anything, you know, barely intelligent think they have a right to tell somebody they have to stay in a shithole, that we're going to stop you? Why the fuck would you stop somebody from doing the rational thing and saying, fuck this circle jerk of torture? You know, you're a bunch of sadists, you know, jabbing holes in each other. Why shouldn't, you know, why shouldn't you let people who are smart to say fuck this, say fuck this? Anyway, I mean, the fact you can't even win that argument with this fucking bullshit civilization just demonstrates it's a bullshit civilization. Yeah, I think that's all there is, really. So we'll leave it there. And you know, it's another video. I don't know, you know, it's not, you know, it's not poetry. It's not beautifully performed. It's not well choreographed. Just more stuff. You know, word salad, word vomit, I don't know. But whatever. You know, it is what it is. It's another week. And yeah, like I said, when you think through it, it's just really irritating that, you know, it's like you're waxing your car and then you're reading the newspaper how, oh, there's going to be a gigantic solar flare tomorrow, and, you know, it's going to burn the paint off all the cars. It's like, oh, fuck. Yeah, I just wasted all this time. Anyway, it's just, you know, it's been an awful lot of effort and work, but life would have been that anyway. So I guess that part doesn't matter. But yeah, it's just, you know, it's hard work just getting through existence on an alien planet, and that's really how it is. It really is, you know, living with aliens. You know, it's just no fun. Anyway, till the next time, such and so forth, and whatnot. Yeah, I think that's enough. Well, I'll just decide it's enough. I'll say it's enough.